JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Tuesday, December 16th, 3:30 on this fine afternoon. Really quick rant, talk about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P down about 0.2%. NASDAQ's in the green. Dow was red in, I wouldn't call it an odd session, but it feels like the market is weak, look on the cusp of maybe pulling, a bigger pull. But then the last couple of days, it's been the same. Like I look at my watch list, more than half the names are in the green. The VIX, which is slightly was slightly higher when the market was pulling a little bit, uh, in the red now, down 1%. And the SPY is right at 679. I keep talking about that 679 is like a key support resistance. And sure enough, we're breaking it this morning. And the plan was to get some puts or at least a hedge, maybe some SQQ calls, but it just doesn't feel like we're going to have a more substantial pull. Maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe the market's playing me like a fiddle. I don't think that's the case. But I guess we'll find out, right? So jobs report this morning. Of course, all the headlines are going to be this afternoon when people get home from work or whatever. We're jobs level, unemployment at level not seen in 4 years, right? 2021 unemployment rate, oil prices that level's not seen in 4 or 5 years, which actually should be a good thing. So all these headlines, and then it's going to be like, oh, markets are slightly, slightly higher, whatever you would think, uh, painting this picture of doom and gloom. So to me, I just think it sets things up into the back half of this month, the last week or two. I think for maybe the markets hit new all-time highs. Call me crazy, but we'll see. I keep being open to both scenarios here, and as much as I would like to get some put hedges to protect from downside, I don't have an insane amount of call positions, so I'm not just going to get SQQ calls and then watch the premiums come out of those. If I see some other opportunities, I'll certainly look to get some put hedges if the SPY stays under 679, maybe tomorrow. And the other thing is the names that I normally look at as kind of like my go-to names, well, Broadcom, which is a little more difficult this week, but the implied volatility is a little high. But the Lam Research, the AMDs, the ASMLs, and those are kind of all hanging in today. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. But anyway, been a little selective yesterday. One of the more quiet days in regards to trading. I'm not going to just trade just to make trades. The moves in Reddit and Lemonade yesterday kind of frustrating. So good, better to be frustrated not in a position than be frustrated watching your the bounce not play out, or it does play out and then watch it reverse and then the premiums just get destroyed. So I'll just continue to be selective. But anyway, 679 on a SPY. I guess I keep saying 679, but maybe tomorrow if it doesn't hold that level, then finally I'll get some put hedges. But all right, that's overall market. Um, Micron earnings tomorrow after the close. I think that's the next big piece of possible market catalyst, right? Because we got the data this morning. And is it CPI? I keep thinking, is that Thursday? I think it is. All right. So that's overall market. Just quick on individual names. So to me, Solar Edge. I got those 3750s last week, looking for a resumption of its uptrend, right? So it had that big move post earnings, made some nice coin on the calls on the upside. And then it's kind of, I wouldn't say fizzled, but the stock's kind of been in a downtrend. I mean, it was almost near $50 after its earnings, back down under $30 the last 2 days. And then I'm looking to try and play for more upside. So this morning, it's like Morgan Stanley decided it's going to upgrade the stocks that it's it has sell ratings on, and they're high shorted names too. And funny, it's the names I follow. Upgraded Roku this morning, upgraded Lemonade this morning, and they upgraded Solar Edge this morning. And Solar Edge they took to a neutral from I think underperform or underweight. But to me, it's like I thought if there's a spark that might light the fuse on Solar Edge, it would be an upgrade from some of these bearish analysts because there's a lot of bears on Solar Edge. So take that with the fact that the chart looks like it's kind of at the bottom under $30, looks like maybe 29, 28 is the bottom. I was looking for more opportunities to play for upside. It was like $30 at the open, chopping around down to 29.50, and then it started to look like it was going to break back over $30. I went and got some weekly strikes. It goes up near 30.70 or so, and then just couldn't muster any more strength and reverse course. And then it's been trading down near 29 into the afternoon. Little bounce here. So it was under 29 for a little bit by 3 o'clock and a quick 70-cent bounce. I still think this is going to have some reversal or massive reversal, multi-day run. Maybe this upgrade has to get digested and tomorrow will start its massive reversal. 50-day moving average right there at 35.70. So we'll see tomorrow. If it finds more buyers tomorrow, maybe I'll look for some more strikes here. But again, I think the risk reward, there's higher less risk of more downside, right? I think the downside is pretty close to being done. So if that's the case, I think the call is going to pay big. So that was the case. That was the Solar Edge calls, and then RH. So I got those calls on RH post earnings on Friday. The stock was breaking into 170s, then it couldn't get going over 173, so I went and closed them out for a small gain. And then I was watching yesterday and really couldn't get going. And then I'm watching again today, and boom, right out of the gate starts rallying. I'm looking at the strikes, and I had the 200s last week going into this week, so I started looking at the 185s. 185s looked, I think they were like 75 cents or a dollar. I was able to get the 190s, and boom, thing takes off by mid-morning or right near the noon hour, up near 175. Locked some of my calls in for 60%. I tried to get them out for 100%, and someone got filled at a dollar. That was not me. And then I just held the rest. And then sure enough, since I exited when it was 175, it reversed course, sitting here at 170. Still like this one for upside. First time over its 50-day. Well, we'll see if we get a close, knock on wood. A close over its 50-day moving average, 168.69, 168.89, somewhere in there. You have to think of scenarios with RH, right? And the thing with RH, it wasn't like their earnings last week were stellar. It wasn't like a blowout quarter, raised guidance. It was kind of like maybe the quarter that says, okay, this is the bottom for their results, and then the future is brighter than the previous quarters. If that's the case, I think the market's going to start pricing that in, and it starts heading higher before the next earnings. So not only that, you have the possible wild card if this ruling from the Supreme Court in regards to the tariffs, which might come out any week. Some are saying it's probably going to come out in 2026. I don't know how much move that would do on some of these names that have some impacts from the tariffs, but I think a basket of names will run up, and RH is one of those names. So anyway, got those strikes, riding almost risk-free, lock some of those calls in. I'll continue to look for opportunities on RH. CGC rallied into the morning right after the open, sitting here at 190. It's almost like someone said, okay, let's pin it at 190. It's been stuck here at 190 ever since. Still waiting on some kind of possible executive order in regards to reclassifying marijuana. Who knows when that comes out, if it does. Needless to say, 199. I mentioned that yesterday and today. I think if it gets over 199, look for some more strikes. My April strike's almost a double. So if I get a chance to lock some of those in, I will. And we're getting a nice little candle here. Hopefully that continues into close. IWM is almost getting back red to green. All right, so that's CGC. And then earlier today, I got the more 1-800 flower call. So I have the January 5s. I don't know if I was talking, I think it was the rant this morning. Huge call volume yesterday. So I think it was over 6,000 calls, 200 puts. Today, similar scenario. Actually, it was 7,000 yesterday. Today, 8,500 calls, 285 puts traded on the stock. It doesn't mean, all those are how would you say, some could be spread, some could be, it's a high short interest. So there could be shenanigans on folks who are short, trying to protect themselves via hedges or what have you. But a lot of the strikes I'm looking at in the volume, for example, like the weekly $5 December 19 strikes, huge blocks hit, 250 contract blocks. So, and no spreads. So that means someone's buying them outright. So doesn't mean option volume to me. It's just part of the whole big picture, right? Of course, I like to see huge call volume on a name I'm in, but at some point, this huge volume has to translate into movement in the stock or the underlying, I would think, right? So all the way up to 484 in the morning, bounced around, down under 440 by 1 o'clock, and then it's sitting here 465. You also have, I hate to say that the iRobot crowd that have been riding that one up and down for the last couple months based on its high short interest and what have you. Hopefully who knows? Last time there was a possibility of bankruptcy, the stock sold off, and then a couple weeks later went on an epic run. So maybe that's not done, but you have to think those folks are out lurking to find the next short move, short name to pump. I'm not trying to, I said this morning, I'm not trying to trade 1-800 flowers just based purely on a pump. But if you look at like the valuation of the company, its revenues, I think it's a $6, $7, $8 stock without all the other I don't know if I want to call them distractions, but anyway, I like this name. I still have some freebie 5s. I added those 6s. If it gets over $5, I think it's off to the races. So that, and it's already had 2 examples of some huge moves. I always see the one in October, the one in the summer. And that's that. I'm trying to think of some of these other. I just put kind of like a point of reference for Oracle today, because if you look, it's only a 4% implied move on the stock for the rest of the week, and the 200 strikes are like 70 cents. So you keep talking about the credit default swaps on Oracle. This, people talking about, hey, their huge debt level is an issue and what have you. But, it was three, whatever. Did it hit? I think it hit 345 back in September. Uh, has the market and investors been that wrong on Oracle to the point of $160 move in stock? I don't think that much. That's why I keep trying to play that one for a bounce. I mean, I did play puts a couple weeks ago, but definitely watching that one. If market finds some footing, Oracle could trade north of $200. So that's that. I'm trying to think of some of the other. Oh, IIPR, right? I would love to play this in regards to what's going on and the possibility of cannabis being reclassified marijuana, but it's like moving like a snail. And even yesterday, I was looking for some calls. And XDivvy date, I think, is December 30th. So I don't know if I'm going to trade this one, but certainly it looks interesting. And I think it was 60 strikes. Did I have them up there? So you got to go into January, right? So the January 65s are 45 by 75. So I mean, if you can get a fill at 60 cents, maybe that looks interesting on a risk reward basis. But then mid 60s, and then not only that, you got to get out of the position, and the liquidity on the options makes it difficult. So in lieu of that, maybe trying to trade either adding more CGC calls or some of the other names in the space. And look at Tilray after it's split. That thing's up 30% today. That one, you start looking, it's like maybe that one goes on an epic run into the 20s and beyond. So I have to look. I have to dig a little more into Tilray. I used to love Tilray back in the day. For some reason now I switched to CGC. So anyway, let's have a great day, folks. I'll be back. Rock and roll.